This is how you install a wireless remote on your ag multi-trailer. This is specifically for the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th generation trailers. If you have a 7th generation trailer, it's going to look a little bit different in here, and there's a separate video that is going to show you how to install your wireless remote if you didn't get it from the factory. The first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you the instructions, and it's going to explain it not in a step-by-step process, but overall what needs to happen with each wire. When you're looking at the instructions, it's specifying this top row of all of your wiring. You don't have to do anything with the bottom, and the bottom is very hard to get to because of the routing of all the hydraulic lines. So what you're going to do is disconnect each one of these. Now before you disconnect them, go ahead and take a picture of it, just to be sure you know how they go back together. The instructions are going to talk about it. However, between the different generations, it is possible that some of the wiring does have different coloring. This makes sure that you're going to put your trailer back together the same way it came apart. Now the way the wiring harness is put together does make it pretty easy to make sure you put them back in the same position. If there is a color discrepancy on the instructions with the wire color that you have, so for instance, on mine, solenoid number 5 has a blue wire, but let's say that yours has a green wire. Now it doesn't matter what color the wires are on the solenoid harness. What does really matter is that you're connecting it to the appropriate wire color for this wireless receiver. Up here in this harness, it's pretty easy to see which colors are which. All the blacks doesn't really matter. You're not cutting any of those, so it doesn't matter that there's multiple of them. You are going to cut the red, the green, the brown, the white, and of course the blue that's going to the connector. Instead of going all the way down here to the connectors on the others, to make it to where they're all in a similar location, it is much simpler to do it right here in the same spot where you've done your first connector. This is going to make it to where the wiring for the rest of the transmitter is able to be evenly distributed and attached to the original wiring. Now from here, all you have to do is crimp it, or in our case, we're using a heat gun because this actually shrinks down. It's a heat shrink with a solder connector in the middle. Now I have routed this wire along where the original wires come up for the actual solenoids. You can route it a different way if you choose, but if you do it this way and you have everything stripped back, it'll make it to where you can do this part much simpler. With the red wire remaining, we are going to attach this fusible link. That way we can connect it to power. We're going to leave this fusible link to the side. This will be the last thing we connect. To make our next step easier, we're going to take the nut that holds the pendant on, take both off of. When it comes to connecting these coils, we did the exact same thing with one minor exception. There are 2 wires that go into each of these coils, and one is a positive, one is a negative. Unfortunately, you cannot tell which is which. The best thing to do would be to probe the wires. However, I did it the way that anyone else would have to do it if they don't have any other tools. I cut one, wired it in with that. When it didn't work, then I went ahead and disconnected it, cut the next wire, and wired it in with it. Unfortunately, there's not a good way to get past this because you look at these, you can see both these wires go into the sheathing, and then as it goes farther, they're just in more of a sheathing. So you can't see which wire is the actual positive or negative from the pendant. Everything is finished up. We spliced into the ground wire coming out of the switch box. That is going to give us our ground. Next, we also have our violet wire. We connected it to the top side of the solenoid on the hydraulic pump. Before we get into the operation of our remote, let's make sure all of our switches are off up here in the box. Now we're ready to use our remote. If for some reason you do have it on and you try to use this, this is what's going to happen. So if I do that and then I hit the up button on here, it's going to function with that one. If you watch this bar right here, this is what's going to happen if you leave the jack on, for instance, the jack switch, and also are trying to do something different. So I'm trying to move the passenger side and I'm trying to do the jack at the same time because I have it on there on accident. Notice it's not moving my arm right here. However, if I let go, it starts moving my arm. Or if I get the passenger side all the way down, now it's going to start moving that one once it runs out of throw. Just like that. Now that we've done everything as far as wiring, all we need to do is turn our remote on. Hold the power button for a second, you'll see the green light and the red light both on, and then the green light by itself should stay on. If you have this on and you have a green light flashing and a red light, it's going to do it in a sequence. So it'll flash, say, 9 times, and then it would take a break, and then it would flash 9 times again. That would say that we have a problem with circuit number 9. Now in my case, and yours, circuit number 9 is the violet wire. So let's say that it didn't connect well up here on this solenoid for the hydraulic pump. I would check that connection. Now that we've gotten past that, let's test everything. All of these buttons, so this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one, are going to control our solenoids. This one controls the passenger side, the arm on the passenger side. So if I press this, you can hear it clicking in there. Now, to operate it, I'm going to press and hold this one, and then this button or this button. This is up. This is down. So if I want this to start going up, I'll press it like that. And then if I was going to go back down, same thing. Now if I press these, and do not select any solenoids, it's going to deadhead just like you hear. That is the pump basically forcing against nothing because nothing is open, it can't do anything. Now that you know how to use your remote, let's go ahead and turn it off for storage. Once you hold the button for a couple of seconds, it's going to turn off and you're going to see that there's no lights lit up anymore. The remote is off, you're still going to have to charge it, it will go dead over time. But note that the receiver that's in the trailer, it does have a little LED that is in there. You're not going to see it because the cover is over it. It is drawing a little bit of power when it's in hibernation mode because the LED is still flashing a little bit. We mention this because we want to ensure that you're still using your charger that is built into your trailer, whether it's the plug-in one that comes standard or your optional solar charger. This will help keep the battery topped off and you won't have to worry about it being dead when you're ready to use it. Now that you know and understand how your remote works, if you have any problems, obviously refer to the instructions. Now, if you have any problems after your installation and you still can't figure it out, by all means, give us a call and we will help you work with it. However, that's everything we have to show you. Enjoy it. Be careful.